So, where does our story begin? Where does our story begin? Yes.
In a castle. No.
Bit before we get to a castle.
No.
Yes.
It begins, well, in a field, well, a battlefield.
Good. It begins in a battlefield. Let's hold that thought for a moment. There's a battlefield. What's good about that battlefield? What's good about that battlefield?
Everybody's dead.
Everybody's dead. Brilliant.
Except that horse.
Except that poor horse. Look at him. But even the horse looks like he's a bit wounded, doesn't he?
And he's eating meat.
But he's eating meat. Oh, now that starts to get us down a nice track. What meat might the horse be eating? Yes.
Human meat.
He might just, mightn't he? That horse might actually be having a munch on some of these dead bodies on this battlefield, because that's the kind of world we're in. We're in a world of shocking horror. We're in a world where things might not necessarily expect do happen. And just as you're thinking, oh, poor horse, poor wounded horse on this battlefield, actually, this horse might just be some hideous creature picking its way through the dead and the dying, munching on their flesh. Because this is a world of people preying on flesh. And just as we're thinking about that, let's imagine in the distance of our battlefield, through the mist of rain and blood, a red demonic mist, come three figures, three stooped, gnarled, weird, twisted figures, three weird sisters, weird faces, weird beards. Beards. Women with beards. So some of you maybe have seen weird, strange women with beards. These are very strange, weird women with beards, and they're picking their way through the battlefield and they're picking up bits of limb, bits of head. Maybe they're reaching for the odd eye and plucking it out of the face of a still dying soldier. Pop! All dripping wet and moist. And they're collecting lots of lovely things from these bodies to go and put them in their vast cauldron, which they're then going to stir. And as the smoke rises from the cauldron, they're going to summon the person they want to see. They're going to summon Macbeth. Macbeth, who is the most savage, the most violent warrior in the Scottish army. Macbeth, who through the whole day has been hacking and slashing his way through the Norwegian enemies. Macbeth, who likes nothing better than wielding a great heavy broadsword and separating legs from bodies, separating heads from shoulders, cutting people in two. Imagine that. There's a great image in the play of a great heavy broadsword slicing up through a body, right up to the stomach, and the ribs, and the lungs, up through the throat, up through the head, up through the brain. Imagine the shower of mangled body matter as this body separates and falls in two. And Macbeth loves it, and as he now strides over the bodies with his great sword dripping with gore, blood and tissue and brains and bones, he sees the witches ahead of him. He's never seen these before. And he turns to his friend Banquo, who's been fighting with him, and together they look at these three strange presences. The witches approach him, and the first of them greets him. All hail, Macbeth, Thane of Glamis. Thane is a lord. Thane of Glamis. He's the lord of a place called Glamis. He has his own estate, he has his own castle. Macbeth wonders how they know it. And just as he's wondering that, the second spirit walks towards him. All hail, Macbeth, Thane of Cawdor. I'm not the Thane of Cawdor, he thinks to himself. You obviously don't know me. I'm not the Thane Thane of Cawdor. There is a Thane of Cawdor, a Lord of Cawdor, he lives. That's not me. And just as he's thinking that, the third spirit greets him, all hail Macbeth, that shalt be king hereafter. King? Thinks Macbeth. I'm not supposed to be king. Am I? The only way I could possibly be king is if the current king dies. Just as Macbeth thinks about the king dying, Macbeth suddenly sees a whole great swirl of all the bodies that he's been hacking and slashing through today. He looks down at his sword, covered in flesh and brains, and he suddenly imagines himself driving the sword into the body of the king. He pictures himself murdering the king. And just as his hair is standing on end with that thought, up comes a messenger to say to him, the king celebrates your victory. The king wants to thank you for all that you've done to help the Scottish army win in the battle against Norway. The king wants to make you Thane of Cawdor. The Thane of Cawdor was a traitor. He was fighting with the Norwegians. We've killed him. His castle, his land is now yours. The spirits seem to know the truth. I am now Thane of Cawdor, thinks Macbeth. Does that mean I'm going to become king? Does that mean I'm going to kill the king? He decides to write a letter to his wife, to Lady Macbeth, waiting for his return in their castle in Glamis. She receives the letter and she reads all about the meeting with these strange spirits. She reads about the fact that he's now become Thane of Cawdor, just as they seem to predict. She reads about the prediction he's going to be king. She reads and understands what it is he's suggesting. We're going to have to murder the king. And as she thinks we'll have to murder the king, she thinks of getting strength for herself. Dark, sinister, evil strength. She prays, but she doesn't pray to any god up in the heavens above. She prays to the dark, dark spirits lurking deep down in the depths of hell. She summons them. She summons spirits to come and possess her, to fill her full of direst cruelty. And just as her eyes are gleaming with a sense of demonic power, in comes Macbeth, sees her eyes gleaming, lifts her to him and tells her, the king, Duncan, is coming to our castle tonight. He wants to celebrate the victory here. He wants us to put on a feast. Lady Macbeth, with her eyes glowing red, says to her husband, the king will never live to see